welcome to section 13.2, Circles Revisited. This section also has ellipses in it, but we are not doing ellipses today. We're just going to focus on circles. Hopefully by the end of this, you all will be able to graph, find the center, and find the radius of a circle, but this time it'll be in standard form. Okay? So just a little quick refresher of circles. That center radius form, that's x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared, where that h and k tell you exactly where the center is. H is the x coordinate of the center, k is the y coordinate of the center, and r is your radius of the circle. So today we're going to be doing things in standard form, and basically our goal is going to be to get it in that center radius form. So just refreshing you, up here it's x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. We're going to try to get it in that format. And how do you do that? It's by completing the square. So that completing the square thing that we did to solve quadratics, we get to use it again in a different way. So what I'm going to do first is just reorganize. I'm going to put my x's together. So if you notice with this equation, it's like a secant find. I've got x squared, and then I have a 6x. I'm going to go ahead and do a plus blank because I know I'm going to be completing the square here in a second. For the y's, I've got y squared, and I have a minus 4y, and then I'm going to do another little plus blank, just leaving myself space so that I can complete the square, kind of getting it in a nice format. And you notice that the r squared is on the other side. We just want numbers on the other side. So that minus 51 that I have on the left, I'm going to go ahead and add it to both sides and say that this equals 51. And that's a nicer format for me to kind of go from that standard form to completing the square. So let's just do it one at a time. So for the x's over here, let's see, for that middle term, that's 6x. I know that 6x basically equals 2 times my b value times the square root of my a value, so that's just times x, right? Well, I've already got the x here, so really 2b equals 6. So that means that I have a b value of 3. I'm just dividing both sides by 2 to get that b because the x's are going to divide out. So my b value is 3, so to complete the square, I'm going to do 3 squared, okay? So this is always a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. That's what that perfect square trinomial format looks like, okay? So there's what the 3 squared. Now you notice it's an equation. I can't just add 9 to one side and think it's going to stay in balance. That doesn't happen. So if I'm adding 3 squared, which is really adding 9 to the left side, I'm just going to balance that out by adding 9 to the right side, okay? With my y's, let's see, we've got my a value is a y. This middle value, that 2ab, is negative 4y. So I know the y comes from here. So really negative 4 equals 2b, okay? If I divide both sides by 2, I'm going to get negative 2 for my b value. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add b squared, so that's negative 2 squared, to complete the square on the y side. So negative 2 squared, that's negative 2 times negative 2, which is positive 4. So I'm really adding 4 to my left side. And yet again, I can't just do it on the left side and think it's going to stay in balance. So I'm going to have to do the same thing on the right side just to keep my equations in balance. Okay? At this point, I can factor really nicely. The x squared plus 6x plus 3 squared. That's going to factor as x plus 3 squared. It's like a plus b squared to get here. Okay? Plus, with my y's, I've got y squared minus 4y plus negative 2 squared. So that'll factor as y and negative 2, y minus 2, squared. Okay? On the right side, I'm just going to add everything together because they're all like terms. 51 plus 9 is 60, and 60 plus 4 is 64. So all of that work, and now I finally have it in center radius form. And so then I can find my center and I can find my radius nice and easy. So let's see, the x coordinate. Notice that it's x minus h, not x plus h. So where it has an x plus 3 here, that's really x minus a negative 3. My center, the x coordinate, is going to be -3, not +3. It's y minus k, right? And this is y minus 2. So 2, +2, is the y coordinate. It basically looks like the opposite of whatever's in here is the coordinate here. Okay, so it's -3 for the x coordinate, +2 for the y coordinate. There's your center. For the radius, notice that our equation equals r squared, not r. So all I've got to do to find the radius is just take the square root of 64. Okay? And it is the positive square root. We're not doing plus or minuses because we should have positive values. The square root of 64 is 8. So there's your radius. All right, let's do another one. For example 2, I'm going to do just about the same thing. The only thing that I'm going to do differently, if you notice this one, I've got a 2x squared instead of a 1x squared, a 2y squared instead of a y squared. We have coefficients in front of those x squared and y squared. Let's go ahead and divide both sides of our equation by 2 at the very beginning. So if I divide both sides by 2, I'm going to have an x squared plus y squared plus 10x plus 8y plus 1, and 0 divided by 2 is 0. Okay? Now I'm starting out pretty similar to example 1. So I'm going to put my x's together, x squared plus 10x, and I'm just going to leave a little plus blank so I can complete the square. Put my y's together, I'm going to have a plus y squared plus 8y, and then I'm also going to have a plus blank so I have space to complete the square. And then this little plus 1 right here, I'm just going to subtract 1 from both sides to get it on the other side so that we're kind of gearing up for the radius. Okay? So to complete the square, I know the x kind of comes from that x squared part. So really 10 equals 2b. So if I divide both sides by 2, I'm going to have b is 5. So I'm going to add 5 squared to both sides to complete that square. 5 squared is 25. So I'm going to add a 25 to the other side just to keep our equation in balance. For the y's, that middle term is an 8y. I know the y kind of comes from this y squared. So really 8 equals 2b, and I'll divide both sides by 2, and so then b is 4. So then it's always a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. So I'm adding 4 squared to complete the square. 4 squared is 16. So again, I want my equation to stay balanced, so I need to add the same thing to both sides. Okay? Let's go ahead and factor. So x squared plus 10x plus 5 squared, or plus 25. That'll factor as x plus 5 squared. The y squared plus 8y plus 4 squared, that factors as y plus 4 squared. And on the other side, all right, let's go ahead and add things. -1 plus 25 is really 24. And 24 plus 16, let's see, 6 plus 4 is 10. So that'll be 40 when we add everything together. All right, so now we are in center radius form. Hooray. All right, let's look at the center. So the x coordinate for the center is basically the opposite of what you see in here. We see a plus 5. The coordinate for the center will be a -5. The y coordinate for the center, it looks like exactly the opposite of what's here because it should be y minus k, not y plus k. So the opposite of 4 is -4, and there's the center. Okay? For the radius, remember that this equals r squared, so to find r, I'm just going to take the square root of 40. It's not a perfect square, so the best I can do is to, simplify. So 40, I would say, is 4 times 10, 10 is 5 times 2, and 4 is 2 times 2. So I've got a pair of 2's that I can take out. And then the 5 and the 2, they're still stuck under the radical. So 5 times 2 is 10. There's your exact form of your radius. If you were graphing this, though, graphing the square root of 40 is not the easiest thing to do, is it? So you might want a decimal approximation for if you were graphing it, okay? If you take the square root of 40 in your calculator, you get about 6.3, okay? If you need to graph this, I forgot that it said then graph. Let's see, let's grab a graph paper here somewhere. There we go. Sorry about that. So if I need to graph this one, I would just plot the center, -5, -4. And then the radius was about 6.3. So what I'm going to do is from that center go about 6.3 in each direction. So to the right, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 0.3 is a little less than half. I'm going to go left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and a little bit more. I'm going to go up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and a little bit more. And I'm going to go down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and just a little bit more. Connect your dots, of course, to make a smooth curve. You want to make a circle, you don't want to make a diamond. All right, and that's how you graph one of these with that information. Now it's your all's turn. You get to try one and show me how much you've learned.